Hi, welcome back to the Personality Hacker Podcast. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
So just a few weeks ago, Antonia, we got back from our personality profiler training. We did this most recent one in Seattle. And there are palm trees in Seattle. Have I mentioned this on the podcast? I've said this multiple times. I just cannot get over this. I cannot get over this. I've been to Seattle before, but this time I noticed palm trees, at least in the area of Federal Way and the SeaTac area. I wasn't in the city of Seattle. My guess is because after the event, we went up to Victoria, British Columbia, across the Puget Sound. By the way, if you're listening right now or watching, you've never done this. What a beautiful city in Canada, southwestern Canada.
Yes.
You'd been there before, but I had never gone.
Victoria is a beautiful city.
Yeah. After the event, we got to go there for like 3 days. And I mean, it was cold the entire time. I was in the Pacific Northwest. I was wearing this was in May, and I was wearing a jacket the whole time during our event. Certainly in Victoria.
To be fair, it was unseasonably cold.
Well, okay, sure.
By about like 10 degrees, just 10-ish degrees.
Yeah. I mean, we got caught in a snowstorm on Mount Rainier the one day. It was like freezing rain. I'll give you that. But they also have palm trees in Victoria. That's what I'm driving toward. Yeah. To say, as cold as I was, I cannot believe that Canada also has palm trees. I bet most people would not believe that Canada, mainline Canada, well, this is an island, but it's pretty close to mainland Canada. It's not that far from Vancouver, thank you. They have palm trees. I was just like, I'm in awe of this.
Little baby ones, little stubby ones. But they
like 10
exist.
feet high at the max, but that's pretty freaking good because I live in Pennsylvania and I've never been you can't grow a palm tree here.
Well, I think the reason why this is so significant to you is because you did an ideal day exercise one time.
Yeah.
And this is a really long time ago, like maybe 15, 20 years ago. And one of the things that you mentioned in your ideal day exercise is that you wanted to wake up and look out of your window and see palm trees.
And sunshine.
And
Seattle's got one of those.
Yeah, right.
It's got one of them.
Exactly. And so wherever there's palm trees, now it becomes a consideration for your potential ideal days. You're like, oh, I could live here. And so, but you're right. Seattle has one of those.
To be fair, there is sunshine. It just doesn't bring warmth with it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful sunshine, but it was, colder. I would say it was like March weather here in Pennsylvania.
But it was, again, unseasonably cold.
All right.
And you don't like to believe me on that one. But I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and even I know it was a little colder. Anyway, but the point of all of this is
the point was we were at profiler training.
We ran a profiler training 5-day live event in Seattle, Washington, or near Seattle, Washington.
It was a fantastic event.
It was an amazing event.
One of the best ones we've ever done.
It was actually really great.
We had over 70 people in the audience. So we're starting to get back to some pre-COVID lockdown levels of numbers of people. So I'm really happy about that. We've been rebuilding our live events since the decimation that was the lockdowns.
That's right.
And people came from all over the world. We had people from Australia, Asia, Hong Kong. We had people from Europe. Turkey. There was a woman there from Turkey. We had people from all over the world come in for this program. And obviously United States and even Canada. Even the Canadians came to join us because it was so close.
That's right.
And it was a wonderful event. We had Dr. Daria Nardi as our guest. We had EEG brain imaging going on, and Daria was teaching a class, teaching practitioners how to be EEG brain image practitioners.
He wasn't just a guest. He was an instructor this time.
True.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's a guest speaker in the evenings, and then he was doing this during the day, teaching. We had an advanced profiling class running where people were learning after they had taken the 101 and the basics, were learning more advanced personality profiling techniques. And we also had Gary Williams teaching a personality coaching course, which is talking about, okay, now that you understand how to help somebody arrive at their best fit type, what are the methods and mechanisms of coaching them to understand how to improve their lives, relationships, career, et cetera. And first of all of that's so wonderful because it's been a vision of ours for a while. We've imagined multiple classes running and almost a conference format, like an academy that comes together twice a year. So it's fun for you and me, Antonia, to sit there with the 101 students. We had these new students there too, training to become personality profilers. And so the vision is kind of being realized. We're working with people. And I love the day when we get to do embodiment exercises. Those are the best 2 days of the entire experience. Anyway, the whole point of all of that is to set up that while we were at this event, on the one morning, it was, I think the second morning we were there, you and I gave almost an impromptu talk. Usually in the mornings, we have the entire group come together in the main room, in the main stage room. because we have a main stage, then we have multiple breakout rooms. And in the one morning day, everyone came together and we talked about this concept of turning pro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give much more detail because I want you to hear, if you're listening or watching right now, I want you to hear this talk because we gathered some students. So remember, this is in the context, all that preamble is to say, this is in the context of the personality profiler training event.
Mm-hmm.
The audience are students who have spent 6 months studying digital content online and coming to Zoom calls and Q&As and working really hard to understand the mechanics and the method of conversational profiling. And during these 5 days, they're in training every day. Like day 1, we do rapport, and day 2 and 3, we do a lot of the embodiment. We keep working toward everyone at the end of the week to be able to do a live personality profiling session with a volunteer. And so we invite people from, and maybe you're listening right now and you were a volunteer. We invite volunteers to come from the podcast, the community, and have a profiling session. And so we're looking to create skilled profilers through this experience. That's what the training is about.
Right.
So people come to learn a skill. And the reason I say that too is because it's important what we're going to talk about in this clip, this idea of turning pro. Because I insert 2 ideas in this, turning pro and operational level. I'll just leave it at that. Because you got to listen to how we talk about this in the clip. Anything else you want to say before we go to that clip?
No, I think we should roll it.
All right. So then we're going to take you right now to the main stage at the Personality Profiler Training event in Seattle, Washington, as we talk about the concept of turning pro.
I get under the influence of ideas sometimes. Sometimes they get in my mind worms and I can't get them out. One of the materials I'm reading right now, I'm rereading. Man, is it a short book? I recommend this for everybody. There's a gentleman named Stephen Pressfield who wrote a book called The War of Art. I don't know if you guys have ever read this book. I read that several years ago. And then he wrote a second book, he's written multiples, but another book, kind of a follow-up to that is called Turning Pro. And the premise, it's a very short read. I think you could read it probably in less than an hour. It's a very, very short book. Like the chapters are 2 pages long. It's amazing. Like you should read this book. It's a really cool book. Anyway, I'm rereading it, and I was reminded of the theme of how Stephen Pressfield started this book. And he basically says, most humans approach the world with 2 big frameworks. They come with the framework of something's wrong, there's an illness, something damaged, mental health, or uneducated framework, and we have to heal or educate ourselves out of that. Like that's the one framework that people have. Like there's stuff's like unhealthy and it needs to be made healthy. We need to look for cure or solution, all this stuff. And so the other framework often that the world we engage with is the framework of morality, where things are wrong, unethical, morally broken, and we have to create a moral purity. And these are the big 2 frameworks that dominate our world often. Worldview, how people approach life and the universe and everything. And he said, I would like to introduce a third framework here that I think is very important that no one really talks about. And it's the framework of going from amateur to professional, amateur to pro. He said, I think this is a much more helpful framework for our world. And by the way, if you're tracking, I kind of immediately look at this as a healing transformation, and now this the achievement one at the end, right? The turning pro one. I can almost map it to that other model. But that turning pro, man, does that resonate with me? Because I think as an ENFP, I can be very bombastic. I can talk myself into a lot of jobs. I've done this in the past, or do I know how to do the job? I can definitely get the job kind of thing. No matter if it's an actual job or just an opportunity. And I can make stuff up and figure stuff up on the fly. So I'm a jack of all trades kind of guy, right? I can do a lot of things sort of well, but not perfectly, and I don't really get proficient in them. And so if you have that as and a lot of people in this room probably have a very similar, even if you're not ENFP, a lot of people here, you probably have the ability to kind of figure things out as you go and hack stuff together and make stuff work in your life. Probably have a lot of opportunity for that. Most people in this room, I think, have a similar experience. But I think if you have that ability, sometimes we lose sight of just being able to really focus in on something and become really, really proficient, where it becomes profession, yes, potentially getting paid for it, but even more important, our vocation, something that we vocalize in the world, we bring forth to the world is the thing that we're here to bring to the world. And I think I think that it is time for us in the space of profiling, in a writ large way, to turn pro, to turn pro. And that doesn't mean necessarily going and making money from it. But I think that, amateur, the word amateur, I think it's a French word, potentially. There's a root to it.
It comes from amour, which means love.
Which means love. So amateur doesn't mean you're bad at something. It doesn't mean you're like not proficient at it. It just means that you love to do it. You do it out of passion, which is great. But adding on to amateur, this idea of turning pro, turning professional, something that you profess into the world. Again, we frame it in Western culture as something you get paid for, which that can be something you profess in the world or a vocation you have. But there's a seriousness and a weight to something and a sense of it, like taking it with honor and approaching it from a respect and a level of proficiency that you feel confident in. And I think that sometimes, especially as casual as we are, we maybe give this impression, let's just do whatever, make it all your own. I think there's an important discipline to this. And I think that if we're going to literally help other humans, I think that the idea that I'm coming up with is, I think we need to inject into this culture here at Profiler Training, and hopefully it will seep out into other areas of people that use personality types and other therapeutic models from Jung and other things, of this idea of, okay, maybe I don't make my living from this, but that doesn't mean I can't treat this like I'm a professional. Like, I'm going to treat this in a serious way. It's going to matter. I'm going to respect the system and the way that, it was kind of created. I'm going to ensure that I help the legacy of it. So we've done things like, as an example, to put money where our mouth is, we're trying to, and I think Joyce works with APTI as well. We're really trying to partner with APTIs a lot. And Wednesday night, I've invited one of the APTI president of this chapter here in Seattle to come and just share for like 5 minutes. I think it's important to be tied into legacy and things that have happened before. APTI stands for the Association of Psychological Type, and they have different chapters. They used to be a really big organization back in like the 1980s and 90s when the corporate America and Western corporations, even in Europe, were really into Myers-Briggs. Like, they had grown really big, and this was kind of the place you would go, like, for a profiler training experience back then. Like, as close as you're going to get to this experience, that is what you would do back in the day. And anyway, the Association for Psychological Type, I think they have, Isabel founded this, right, in like 1980 or something. And so there's a legacy there of the person that invented the system, founded this organization. And the organization in some ways is on life support because of atrophied numbers and all this. It just isn't what it once was. But there's a group of people that want to keep it going and keep it, solid. And I think that's important. Well, now, it's not necessarily my personal mission, but I think I want to support it because I want to turn pro in this.
And there's standard bearers.
Yes.
Right? And there's a a bit of a Wild West feel about an industry that we feel is burgeoning. Like, this is, they talk in marketing, they talk a lot about mega niches. Mega niches are things like health and wellness, relationships, career, money making, or wealth generation. But we think the next mega niche is identity. That's what it feels like to me anyway. It feels like it's going to, if it isn't already, right, it feels like a mega niche. And this is a system that helps people sort identity, and it doesn't require anything that is necessarily triggering. Like, it doesn't require a religious or a political affiliation. It doesn't require things that are, that create, discord at Thanksgiving. Somebody might not like type, but it's not. It's like, it's just kind of it's hard for them to communicate or articulate why, right? They usually say talking points from some article they read 10 years ago. But as far as the system itself, it helps people with identity in a way that's hard to, we're all here because of it, right? It helped us figure out who we are, helped us with our relationships. It helped us with all the other mega niches. And so Association of Psychological Type, APTs, and those kinds of, they're standard bearers from the past that remind us that this legacy is built on something that wasn't a Wild West, that it was like the roots of it are therapy. The roots of it is psychoanalysis. And even though it became very much a career instrument and kind of got co-opted in the business world, that's not its point of origin. Its point of origin is not only therapy, but specifically wholeness of self, like to understand oneself to a point where you're not divided. You probably have heard me say this about 1 million times now, but the word individuation, which is what Jung was on about the whole time, means not divided, right? In, not dividuated, divided. And so the point of it is to find our whole selves. That's the purpose. And the standards from the past remind us that there's like a bigger mission to all of this, not just talking about type or, excuse me, arguing about type, but doing real introspection, real self-analysis, real growth and development. And as Joel talks about the difference between amateur and professional, amateur comes from the word amor, which is love, or to do something for the love of it. But professional actually means a vow. It means to profess, right? It's a vow you take to hold a standard. And so you're communicating, when you go professional, you are communicating to the world that you're going to hold a certain standard. That's what you're saying when you go professional. And like Joel said, we've conflated that with getting paid for something. But just because you get paid for something doesn't mean that you're staying aligned with a standard or making a vow of a standard, right? In fact, in some ways, it almost sometimes undermines people's ability to do that. And so, so when Joel talks about going from amateur to professional, it doesn't mean you stop doing it for the love of it, but it means that you're holding yourself more accountable for how you're using it.
Yeah, it's not an or frame, it's an and frame.
Right. I love it, and I'm going to profess to the world or vow to the world that I'm going to hold myself to a certain standard. And I think if we do that with type, you're going to see a lot less of those articles.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think one of the challenges people have with type is that, you know, it's like you get your hands on it and it's like a kid with a fire hydrant or something. It's like all of a sudden you're just blasting it to everybody and you're like, no, I know your type and I know who you are. And people are like, okay, you know, cool it. And so when you get that sort of energy, that initial love, that initial amore, it's really easy to kind of overdo it a little bit. But as we become more and more proficient, as we become more and more professional and vow to a standard, I think it's a lot easier to build credibility in the model because people see how you're showing up. They see that this is not something that you're casually bequeathing upon other people, a knowledge that you don't actually have about them, or bequeathing type, but you're actually interfacing with them in a more sophisticated way. And now they want to know how you know what you know.
Yeah. And then I was speaking to a profiler training student recently who was like, you know, I really like profiler training. I like the profiling aspect of it, but I wish you guys just offered a course that was just about all the material, the content, and the discussion without the profiling part. I think I would have really appreciated that. And I said, no, you wouldn't have. That would not have worked, because the requirement to perform and operate something is why it works. If you take that away, we're going right back to what people do online and in discussion. They tokenize these ideas. They capture them in these abstract symbols, and they trade them like trading cards in conversation. And it's arguments and disagreement and who knows what's right. And no, that person's this type and this person's this. It's like, let's cut through all that BS. Let's get down to an operational level. What does it look like to operate type? What does it look like to actually perform it in a performative way? At that moment, now we meet the information at the point of operation. We're not up here in this abstraction. I mean, there's value to that. I'm not suggesting there's no value to that, but there is certainly a limit to the value of that. The true value is when you start to actually affect people's real lives and your own life in a profound way. And so the thing I'm on the hunt for, how do we get more operation into this system? How do we get more proficient, actual doing something with it, performing something? This is why EEG, Dario, it's a very big attractor to me. It's very tangible. It's something that is actionable and it's got a practitioner to it, right? It's got something that you can do with this.
Well, it communicates a timeline too.
Yes.
Where I came from, where I'm at now, and where I'm going.
And it also, I think, people that may not be super into personality types and things. I mean, Darren, who you'll see, he's coming tonight and he'll be here all week. He was talking about when they were in Japan and he was showing pictures to his friends back home of like the EEG, for example. They were like, I don't even know what this is, but whatever you're doing in that picture, I want you to do that to me. And he's like, I've never had anything in my life out of context people are just asking for. It's like, it's so weird. He's like, whether they'll pay me for it or not, that's another question, but they're definitely interested. So, and the other thing we're working on too, if everybody has the card decks, I maybe have a card deck. If you've seen those floating around, we have a box shipped in hopefully today or tomorrow. So if you want to get a deck, we've just got like 10 or 12 decks we bought to bring. I was at my friend Joel's house this past weekend. He's also named Joel. INFJ. We were his son, who I'm suspecting is like a 10-year-old ENTJ, was sitting there and tell him about type. I'm like trying to tell him about type. It's not. I pull the deck of cards out. I lay them. And he starts like literally picking the cards up and moving them around and operating with them and asking questions like, but this is my mom's type? Okay, but then she's got, and he's throwing the harmony card down or the effectiveness card down, and then his dad's the harmony, and he's like, okay, so I see, and he's like taught at his 10-year-old, and I'm going around and I'm like, things are unlocking in my brain to go, there is something about the operational level in a very tangible way around this that I am on the hunt for. And so the two broad themes are turning pro, turning professional, taking this with a vow, with a seriousness, with the weight that I think it actually is, because you're actually addressing real people's lives. This is how we beat the machines, by the way, folks, because it's coming for us. Within probably 2 years, you will never have to ever see an email you do not want to see ever again. Ever. AI is going to just handle this for us. Probably not to our betterment. Like spam's going to go away, but then we're not going to have to be confronted with anything we won't be confronted with anymore in the future. We can curate our world exactly to our taste. This is not going to be good for us at all.
Well, and who said it's going to be predicting based on habits,
yes,
not based on cognition?
Not preferences.
Not preferences.
But on your habits,
right.
Which is, remember we talked about that yesterday, like, yeah, I mean, so it's going to go what you do, not even what you prefer. That's the horrible part about AI. There are flaws in AI, and it's got things to work out. I mean, there are really good things too. I mean, one thing is technology will just disappear around us, right? It's the clunkiest thing now to pull out a phone and thunk, 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 chunk stuck in a phone and send it. So we can pull their phone out and read it, and like that's going away, right? It'll just be around us and surrounding us. We actually will unlock our humanity, I think, in a lot of ways. We'll have to give up our privacy for it, but our humanity will be back center front and center. As long as we're with people, technology is going to be in the background. I think that's the good thing about AI. It's going to help us sort mass amounts of data. There's a lot of good things coming. But the one thing is, we have to now, just like now, I mean, we don't have to go to the gym if we don't want to, right? Evolutionary pressure. We don't have to like be in good health or take care of our bodies in any way. We have enough comfort. We could probably live for a very long time with modern medicine without actually taking care of our health. So we have to be consciously attuned, and we have to be proactive about it, right? That's what we know. Anything we want to do now, we don't have evolutionary pressure of like, I got to get the food. I got to get up and go on the hunt today to get the food because it's just in the grocery store, like next door. So we don't have to do that anymore. So we have to now create our own evolutionary pressure for ourselves. We have to get up and actually do the intentional things. So I think the same thing with AI is coming. So that's why I think I'm saying this. Being professional is the intentional things. And then looking for the operational level of stuff. I love the fact that Tina, where's Tina? You guys should see what Tina brought with her. Over here, ISTP Tina. She went home and she brought a prototype to the last event, but she's created a prototype of like a visceral physical car model. Like an actual like car. She's got a regular car, a shadow car. She's playing with these concepts. She did this in her woodworking shop. Like she's trying to bring a tangibility to this. And I love it.
Smart and adorable.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah.
She's got like different challenge modes where you pull a card and you have to like assemble the car model quickly to like do drills and practice.
That's awesome.
I love that because it's a learning tool to make it tangible. I think she's done a great job. So if you see her, you can play around with it and stuff. I don't want to do questions yet. I'm going to let me finish this thought and we can take questions in a moment or whatever. So that's like an example of something that's very tangible. The cards are something example of something that's very tangible, right? And I keep thinking about the world of tarot, right? No matter your feelings about tarot, whether you think it's spiritual and it's dangerous, that's okay, or you just think it's an intuitive. I look to see it as like an intuitive stimulator. It's just like I threw a tarot card down and I'm like, what could that possibly mean? And excuse me, my intuition has to like pattern it to my life, and it just stimulates my intuition and my imagination. That's how I see it. I don't see it as a spiritual thing. But some people like have a little bit of resistance. But whatever your view of it is, it's very rare when people are online doing tarot channels, talking about tarot theory and arguing about, no, that's not the right major arcana. This other one's the right major arcana. Like there's no debates online like that. People aren't arguing about that. Why? Because when you look up information about a tarot card, you're in the middle of a reading. For yourself or somebody else. You're operating something. You're doing something. You're at the level of gameplay, quote unquote, metaphorically. And then you're going to go look up the information to help you do the thing. So that's profiling, coaching, EEG, card decks, like anything that's tangible, it's operational. That's where it comes alive. That's where it makes a difference in people's lives. So this is what I'm on the hunt for. And I want you all to help me. Just keep your eyes open for these kinds of things, these opportunities to make things tangible. It's harder and it's not as fun sometimes because you got to turn professional to do it. So a lot of people want to just say, I'm an expert on this, whatever, and they don't want to put the hard work in to make it tangible and land with real humans, like what you're doing with profiling. So I'm really encouraged by everybody here putting this work in.
Yeah.
Good job, because you're actually meeting the rubber to the road. You're making something real in your life. You are in the process of turning pro if you want to. and you're on the pathway for that. So that's kind of our theme this week, this idea of turning professional, creating that seriousness, that weight, and that operational level of type. I sound like I'm mad. I'm not mad. I'm just passionate. Everybody's like, is Joel upset? Is Dad upset? What? No, it's fine. I'm just like really passionate about this. And I think this is something that we're going to be talking about this week, because this is an idea that's been coming to me, and I would like to share it with all of you and have you, take this. And I think we're more than if I just have the idea to spread it and see what happens with it. I think that'll be really cool.
Okay, so that was us on the main stage at our most recent personality profiler training event in Seattle, Washington, talking to over 70 students and alumni that were in the room, many who were just training for the first time to become a personality profiler. Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of these people put a lot of work into being there. And
yes,
I think the idea of turning pro is an important message for us to land, because I think a lot of people want to actually go and make a career out of this. They want to turn pro in a way that's making money. But I think a lot of people just, I'll tell you this, we had an ENTJ, his name is Major. He came to our personality life path mentorship event. The end of it, we had a live podcast that day. He wasn't actually in the program Life Path, but we had a live podcast that Saturday night in Philadelphia a few months ago. Mm-hmm. And on that podcast, in fact, I think it was just a few episodes ago, we saw that clip.
Yes.
Where he asked, like, how can I make this become more real? I've studied everything I can study. I know the theory. I know everything. What's next? And on that episode, just a couple episodes ago,
we said, go to Profiler training.
Right. And he did.
Yeah, he did.
He did. He came to the program, and I think he had a good experience. I think he came up afterwards like, okay, this is the real deal. Like, this connected this in a real way. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I joined this.
Yes.
Because it was a whole different, he's like, I've never experienced anything like this before.
Yeah.
Like, it was a profound experience for me to connect this in a real way in my life.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what I love about profiling. It requires us, it forces us as maybe people who started out as type enthusiasts, which I did, right? Like, I was just super into, Myers-Briggs, and I was like super into type for a long time. And learning how to profile was actually the beginning of me turning professional. So the way that I figured out the methodology was through putting in a bunch of reps. I had to come up with a methodology for profiling, because I had so many people asking me, how to figure out their type.
Because you were a life coach at the time that wanted this skill added in.
Exactly.
And so you were like, okay, I know life coaching. I need to also add this other thing I know.
That's right.
But right now it's theoretical, and this has to land in a real way for people.
Exactly. Like, there was actual stakes. There was me giving advice, and people were paying for the privilege of the advice, and then they were letting me know, they were field testing it. So to come up with somebody's best fit type accurately, and I initially was relying on things like assessments and tests, and I was sending people to go get some sort of assessment. And I was noticing that the assessment wasn't always accurate. Now, nothing is 100% accurate, and that includes profiling. Like, nothing is 100% accurate, because people are complex and type is complex. And you're trying to find the center of the Venn diagram of complex people, or a complex individual and a complex system. So it's always going to be a challenge, but there are ways to get more accurate. And then I ended up having an opportunity where I could put in a lot of reps. I came up with a methodology. And then I just practiced and practiced and practiced. And then I ended up at an event, at an unrelated event from ours, that afforded me the ability to do like 50 to 100 profiling sessions within a very short amount of time. And that was when I got to the end of like really dialing it in. But that was just the beginning for me too, right? Even though I had done so many, it was like the beginning of me figuring out what was important about all of this.
Yeah.
Because initially it was about getting the type right. That was I think that's what it is for everybody, right? You want to understand the system well enough to get your own and other people's type accurately. But it didn't take long for me to realize that the magic of it was that it was forcing me to apply what I knew. It was a forced application where the people that I was doing these sessions with, these profiling sessions with, would then, they would live it out, and then they would give me feedback around it, because a lot of them ended up being either, coaching clients or people that I had a relationship with that had asked me advice. And so the first gift of like being required to make it application oriented, not just theoretical, was that I got feedback on whether or not I was doing a good job, right? Like I was actually getting feedback on the person being like, I don't know if this actually resonates with me. And I wasn't always accurate in the early days. And then the second gift it gave me was the extraordinary variety that people can come in within the same type cluster, meaning that, you know, an INFJ is not an INFJ is not an INFJ. The only thing that ties all INFJs together is that they share the same cognitive wiring, but it doesn't mean that they share all the same behaviors. It doesn't mean that they share the same personality. It doesn't mean they share the same outlook on life. They certainly have a wide variety of life experiences. And so the vast array of variety within an individual type became really obvious over time. And I started truly appreciating just how many different packages the same cognitive preferences can come in.
You definitely just created a mind worm for somebody. You said, not all INFJs are the same personality. That's going to confuse somebody listening right now.
Yeah, sorry. I meant traits, personality traits. So
like
traits
behaviors.
Are the behaviors. Exactly. They're not the same, they're not the same person.
Yeah.
Right. Like the same personality type.
The same cognition, but not the same outcome.
That's right. Exactly.
Which a lot of people are judging personality type based on outcome or behavior, not based on cognition.
Right. And that's why the system is so complicated, is because it's not a behaviorist model. In fact, that's one of the reasons why like the psychological world has a really ambivalent relationship to it.
Yeah.
Is it's not a behaviorist model.
People want it to be. They really do.
Even people into type want it to be because behavior is observable from an outsider.
It feels more objective or something.
It feels more objective, and it also feels more controllable. It feels more predictable. And
and it also puts me as the egoic person in control.
Right.
Because I get to tell you based on your behavior who you are.
Right.
So it builds my ego up from a practitioner. If I'm doing a profiling session or I'm talking to somebody and they calibrate me and go, well, that doesn't resonate. Well, I have to confront that in myself and I have to contend with that, which stretches me and grows me, I think.
Yep.
But I can see why maybe somebody wouldn't want that because that's harder. It's a lot harder.
Right. And profiling, it's effectively an interview based on strong rapport. Right. A big piece of what we teach in profiler training is rapport building. So it's a interview that allows the person to show you their cognition over time through a conversation, like we say, a psyche to psyche experience.
Yeah.
And so through all of that, in profiling, you eventually get to a moment when you bring them in and you co-create it by saying, this is what I'm seeing. And are you resonating with that? And then the person, like you just said, the person gets to give some pushback if they don't resonate with it. Now, as profilers, it's on us to have good descriptions, good unbiased descriptions of what these type preferences mean. But the person can give some pushback and it's not based on their behavior. Now you're asking them how they show up, but the most important question we always say in profiling is why? Like what's going on underneath? Why are you doing this? Because the same behavior can show up in all 16 types. Like how many times have I got playing with my kids from just about every personality type, or spending time with my children? Well, that's biological, right? Like we all have a biological imperative to spend time with our children, or at least pay attention to them. Yeah. And so that's more about who the quality of our character, not our type preferences. And so there's a deeper aspect to it, which is a feature, not a bug. Now it's a bug when you're trying to type people. It's very difficult to use behavior only, and it's hard sometimes to translate the answers around behaviors, the whys, and interpret it into cognition. That's actually the art of it. That's really fundamentally what you're doing when you put in the reps. But based on the talk that we just presented, which is going professional, going pro means not just loving this, but also having some weight to what you're doing. And as we said, professional is based on the word profess, which is vow. And originally it was used in terms of religious vows. It was like the vows a priest made towards his new profession.
Professed.
That's right.
Professed something to the world.
He professed a vow.
Yeah.
And so profiling puts us in a position where we are vowing that we are going to have integrity in what we're doing. that we're not going to just bequeath types upon people, but we're going to show up in a way where we're trying to gift somebody with expanded self-knowledge, with an awareness about things that are not just observable from the outside world, but something that's deeply personal and intimate to them, which is their cognitive preferences and wiring.
Yeah.
And so when you enter the space, the vow you're taking, I mean, I think type personally, I've said this multiple times in many places, I think it's a psychospiritual tool. I think it's both psychological, but also spiritual, because it allows us to individuate and come to what Carl Jung called whole self. So you're giving somebody an ascended level of self-understanding that they might not have noodled out their entire lives. They might have kind of gotten some pattern, but now you're providing language, and it has the potential, not always, but it has the potential to really accelerate a person's self-awareness, to bring unconscious things into conscious material. There's a lot around it that is, in my opinion, a responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility.
Well, I think it gives you a pathway, or at least guardrails or scaffolding for accelerated maturity.
Mm-hmm.
If I know more about myself and parts about myself, like you and I were talking right before this episode, we had some conversation today about my little 10-year-old or tertiary extroverted thinking or effectiveness, and how pesky it is, and how I have guardrails to help nurture that part of me and to help mature it and help grow that and be more, it'll never be proficient or certain, but it can be mature. I can mature it a little bit and have it defer to my more parent side of myself.
Right.
So I think that this really gives you a guardrail for maturation, for becoming more than you are, because you have kind of language of where to go with it all.
Yeah.
And you know, in the talk, I kept mentioning this idea of operational level.
Mm-hmm.
I brought in a couple concepts. I talked about our profiling cards. I should have a deck in here. I don't have a deck in front of me. It's dumb of me to come in the studio without one. But we have profiling cards, and you know, I call them profiling cards, personality profiling cards, but in a way they're understanding cards. You could use them in any other capacity. And they're framed in our car model method because it's a really easy way to understand cognitive functions and utilize these. And I've seen the power of that. And I'm looking at the operational level, I'm going, that's the level of type where, I mean, can you imagine like on a camping trip or at your college campus or at your office, if someone had a deck of those in their pocket and they're like, oh, what does this mean to be introvert, extrovert? And you could whip some cards out and you make some illustrations and you start to lay out people's personality types in the office or at the summer camp or at your college or university or wherever, and using these to kind of viscerally and tangibly describe something. I really think people will take to it. I think young and old will look at that and go, wow. And it feels real. It feels visceral. I think for people that think it's kind of an abstract system, it's like, well, there's cards. This must be legit. Like they give it more credence. It's so
Right.
weird how that happens.
Yeah.
That's just one example of an operational level. I think the profiling, personality profiling is another operational level that I think gives real world results for people.
Okay.
So I think that the idea of going from amateur to professional that we talked about in the talk, of professing something, being proficient, taking it serious, whether you're going to turn it into a career or not, and respecting it with ethics and giving it, we stand on the shoulders of giants, of Carl Jung and, Isabel and Catherine and a lot of other psychoanalysts and people have written about this and written books and have studied. There's an entire database of research papers, the Milo database, that goes into all sorts of different studies around type and all of this.
Yeah.
And by the way, all that's great. And then it's like, okay, we have all this body of knowledge for like 100 years. Okay, now how about we do something with this now, guys? This body of knowledge can be furthered, I promise. But that's not where the magic is. And now let's take it from 16 to 32 or 64 types and let's go, and that can be valuable. But if it's got an operational connection, now it's really valuable. Like, how much more can we expand a system before we get into practice?
Well,
let's do something with this, folks. Like, that's kind of my thinking, right? And I'm not mad. I'm just saying, I'm just passionate about this. Yeah, I'm just passionate about this.
We just had a conversation where I can't remember exactly who we were talking to. Maybe it was our profiler training students and a Q&A. But there was this question of like, is it appropriate to keep expanding the system, right? To just make it more and more and more complex and see more and more and more angles. And I said, I totally understand the attraction to that. I understand the attraction of expanding it out and bringing in more nuance. But I think that in order for that to, if we're going to be responsible to the point of origin of the tool, that we learn how to apply and get the juice out of the squeeze from every layer we're adding in.
Yeah.
So there's a application, there's knowledge, and knowledge is basically applied information. There's application levels at the dichotomy level. There's application at the temperament level. There's application at the cognitive function level. And I think there's application at the subtype level. Like there's application at all these different levels, at the 16 type levels. And when we really understand how the application can enrich our lives, and we understand this information experientially, not just with a knowledge base, not just theoretically, but experientially, then we're ready to add more.
Yeah.
And then as we add more, we understand that experientially. And what I mean when I say experientially, I mean we have actively used this to improve our lives and our relationships with other people. We've used this for greater self-understanding so that we can become more of our whole selves, that we're able to have better, what Carl Jung would say, personas, or our ability to interface with other people. We have a stronger relationship to our ego, the part of ourselves that wants to do better and be a better person, that we're taking content from the shadow, like things we were unconscious and unaware of before, and we're moving that information into a conscious awareness. And then we have access to those that voice, or that inner voice of whole self, like the really quiet one that it takes a while, some stillness to really listen to. That's something I think is available through, type as an on-ramp. So I think expansion of systems is completely understandable. I think what we're talking about going from amateur to professional is when we expand the system out of love for the theory of it, that's one thing. And it's completely understandable to do that. There's a fascination to it all. But I think when we go from that to professional, we're not just expanding the system out of love, we're understanding more out of a sense of responsibility. A responsibility to understanding our whole selves, a responsibility to showing up in a way that lends credibility to the system, where the person says, how have you been able to manifest this in your life? Or how have you been able to, to become the kind of person that you are? And that comes from an idea that I read from a Jungian analyst and Sufi master, who said that when you are a person who does this kind of work, you have basically a contagious stillness about yourself, that other people calm down in your presence because you're not rejecting anything in yourself. So they instinctively know you won't reject anything in them either.
Yeah.
And so that becomes a contagious desire to, I'll have what she's having, basically, right? Like, I want a little bit of that. And then if you say, well, this is one of the tools I've used, now it lends credibility to the system, because it's not just a way to create more distinctions. It's a way to actually do the opposite, which is, not opposite, but to create an integration of the self.
Yeah.
And so I think that the idea of going pro when it comes to type, it's, you can join Pro Flyer training. That's one way to create a discipline in your life. But it's really about asking yourself what your relationship to the system is. And regardless of whether or not you take a program like that, everybody can fundamentally integrate and apply this very powerful information, this very powerful system in their day-to-day life to become somebody who is more associated with their whole self.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to put myself in the place of like a 22-year-old right now,
right.
just for an exercise. Like I'm trying to think, okay, if I was in university and I tuned into a podcast where this woman is talking about, and this guy is talking about whole self and Carl Jung, I don't know how I would feel, but I would be like, look, I just need to get along with my roommate. He didn't pay the rent this month, and I'm kind of frustrated, and he's kind of an a-hole, and can type help me with that?
Yeah.
So what you're saying, that you have the vision in front of us of kind of where you can head with this, psychospiritual and stuff. But I think a lot of people too are, maybe the reason they don't go down the road of turning pro or connect this in a real way is they think that's how it has to look.
Yeah.
It has to be this esoteric, psychospiritual, like woo cultish, like what is going on? Like, is that the level I have to, I don't resonate with that.
I'm an ENTP. I debate a lot. Is that because I'm an ENTP, right? Like that's the level. I get it.
So what I guess I'm saying is I think operational level could be, I don't think you have to necessarily, although, I mean, join profiler training. If you're watching or listening to this,
Yeah, you should totally do it.
Incredible experience. If you are wanting to take something and turn it into, take this idea of personality types and connect it in a real methodology, it will do that. Like it does help you get a framework for how you could turn pro in like practitioner way.
Mm-hmm.
But, using those cards with somebody, I would say a roommate to workshop a challenge, or sharing something with another person on just a communication breakdown or how they can communicate better. Like there's other operational levels besides a profiling session. Clearly, we want you to do that because we run the program, and I would love to have you part of it. And I'd like to meet you in person. I think you would have a fantastic experience there, and you'd geek out and meet a ton of cool people and learn a skill.
It's a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. You'd just be like, oh my gosh, why did I do this like 10 years ago? Mm-hmm. But I know not everybody's there, and not everybody's listening to this podcast for that reason either. They're sometimes listening to go, I just want to get along with my roommate.
Yep.
And so operational level might be, oh, my roommate does this because
they're a perceiver, and that's why they don't know that they're supposed to like not drop their coat on the couch.
Exactly. And not give a pass for it, and not just know it in my heart, but understand it, and also maybe offer yourself like, okay, and resolve conflict. That's an operational level of type.
Absolutely.
Right. With your partner, your roommate, whoever. Or I think of somebody that maybe is middle-aged or even older, and we're talking about, you're middle age, you have this chance to individuate and really blah, blah, blah. But the person that's listening right now just lost their job or they were laid off, and they're struggling through, okay, I need this type to help me know what my aptitude is for the next thing I'm supposed to do with my career.
Yeah. Or I'm just ready for a change. Like I'm just done. I'm done like doing this job that I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Sure.
And I just know that it's not right for me. And I'm trying to but I'm not sure what change I need to do.
That's like 90% of our personality life path people.
I know.
Like literally they're all like, I just kind of don't know what's next, but I know it's something. So that's the PLP. But I guess what I'm trying to land here is, turning pro doesn't mean you have to be a practitioner. Mm-hmm. Turning pro means that this is how I see it. I see a system that has practical power in my life in some way. It can be a fun operation with some cards, or a profiling session and clinical, like with a client, a conversation. But I think it improves communication. I think it improves self-understanding and self-communication. And I think it gives us a sense of our aptitudes, our attunements, and a scaffolding for us to mature and grow ourselves.
Yep.
And there's a ton of operation in all of that.
Yeah.
And my encouragement is, if you haven't discovered that operation for yourself, that's magical. If you can find a way to have language as an example between you and your brother or sister or sibling, and you can communicate with them, and you have language that you share with each other, wouldn't that be a powerful operational tool to have, where they know enough about type to be able to engage with you to say, wait, are you speaking from this part of yourself? It's like, yeah, I am. And being honest with that and being able to communicate that alone, not even helping other people, just being able to help your own life operationally is very powerful. But that means you have to take it serious enough to put the work in to understand it, to be able to do that in the moment you have that conflict.
Yeah. Dario said something, Dr. Dario Nardi, who, like you said, he was both a instructor and also our guest speaker a couple times. He said, type doesn't do the work for us. It just shows us what work there is to do.
Yep.
And so there's an opportunity, like you said, wouldn't you like to talk to your sibling in a way that they can understand, or your parent or your child or your coworkers or whatever?
Well, coworkers will never understand.
Yeah.
You can't work with those people.
I'm your coworker.
Oh, that's why I'm saying it. It's just futile. Don't worry about the coworkers. That's why I didn't mention that one. It's completely pointless. I'm joking. Somebody's going to take me serious. I'm just kidding.
You're just pointing to all of me. It won't do the work for you. It's not like, you automatically get that. And that's why application is so important. That's why it's so important to take the information and turn it into knowledge through application. But what it does is it saves a ton of time on doing the wrong things.
Yes.
Right. It goes, this is the work you need to be doing, and you'll get return if you do that work.
At the risk of being stupid, introverted thinking, I draw a distinction between application and operation.
Right.
I think application is something that, like, I can apply something to the outside of something, right? I can I'm really going to bear out my ignorance. Is there a product for makeup called an applicator or application? Don't you put an application on your outer face? Am I remembering that from my daughter correctly or no?
Yeah, and there's like applicators, which are tools that put makeup on.
So it feels like you glob on the outside of something, apply, applicate, and operation feels like you're grabbing the controls and you're operating the machinery, the guts of it, the mechanics of it.
Okay, fair enough.
That's, again, I don't know if those are technical definitions, but that's how I create a distinction in.
Yeah.
And I'm not I'm not saying you're wrong about application. I use the word application all the time too. But in that talk, I said operation, I think for a reason, I don't know, maybe not. I think I'm trying to say it's like, it's an intuitive understanding. It's like a knowledge that I have around this. Very vulnerable because I don't exactly what I mean, but I mean particularly the operation of something. There's magic there.
Like
There's
what levers to pull, what buttons to push.
Well, what I mean, like I gave the illustration in the talk, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see a lot of people creating YouTube videos and channels arguing about the meaning of tarot cards.
Yeah. Maybe they do, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, maybe there's like this whole, like, there's like these infighting and no, you can't have, but it's because people, in my view, are always operating tarot for themselves or others when they go and look for that information. Mm-hmm. They're not studying the information for itself. They're in an operation of something.
Right.
And I think operation is one level even down lower than application. Well, that's my instinct.
Or maybe they just have a relationship with each other. Like when you're operating tarot, then usually you take that wisdom and you apply the wisdom in your life. Like the operation helps you understand what that work is.
Yeah, maybe the operation comes and then application follows. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why I'm creating a distinction. I don't know why I'm creating a distinction. I probably should keep my mouth shut if I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I mean, I haven't looked either of those words up or have an etymology for them, but that sounds about right to me. But either way, its application is at the end. It's the purpose of it is to have application in your life so that you can gain wisdom.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go back. This will be my final thing. I promise. And we'll close up because this has been probably a while now with the clip and everything else. And hopefully you've enjoyed this. We'd love to hear from you in a moment. Okay, here's the thing. Like, try to give my son, Gunnar. I think I've mentioned this somewhere on a podcast or video somewhere. You're probably going to, if you're listening or watching, you probably hear me say this a couple times. This is really clear understanding for me now. I've had this happen. My son Gunnar, who's 18, I try to give him some advice. I came to him cold to give him advice. And I just started talking like, here's the thing you need to do. Dad thinks he's 100% right. And this is good, solid advice for his life. Gunnar doesn't take this advice very well. He's like kind of pushes it away, doesn't hear it, kind of shuts off to it. We get in a little bit of a tiff. I'm like, okay, that was unsolicited. So I wait a day or two, I try again, and we go on a walk and we spend some time together. And I ask him about the situation that I want to give him advice to. And I ask him questions and he gives me feedback and we talk about it. And I show that I care and I create understanding between us on the way on this walk. And within a half hour, I give him the exact same advice. And guess what happened, Antonia? He was able to hear it.
Yeah.
And he was not all of it. We still had a little bit of, some conversation and pushback and some negotiation around it. But he's certainly able to hear a lot more than before that walk, right? The day before when I came with the advice. You mentioned tarot, the same thing. You're like in the operation trying to figure something out with a tarot deck to give advice to somebody. And the reading is important in that. If you walked up to somebody and you hand them a card, here, this is advice for your life. This major arcana card, you hand them I don't know what the heck a major arcana is, the Hierophant. Here's the Hierophant. This is really important for you. Go take this. And it's like, wait, what? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, it means this. And you explain the Hierophant definition. Okay. Thank you, I guess. Like, the person would be confused. Like, what? Okay. But if you do a reading with them and there's a framework for it and they have a question and you're trying to solve something or operate something, well, now when you give them the Hierophant card and you explain it, they're like, oh, well, that relates to my problem this way. And you're creating a container for them to connect it to their own life, to create the insights, to actually do something with that. So I pattern this to profiling, personality profiling, as an example. This is what I mean by operational level. If you came to somebody and you knew they were, they told you they were an ENFJ, like, oh, great, ENFJ, here's what you need to do. These 5 things. It's like, okay, I don't know you. Like, you don't know me. You all you know is my type letters. How could you know that's the advice to give me? And to your credit, if you're the person giving the advice, you might be 100%, you might be 110% right about your advice, but they cannot hear it because you did not have an experience like the tarot reading to create the container for them to hear that advice.
Well, and most people don't know they're an ENFJ. In that situation, It'd be like, excuse me, you telling them they're an ENFJ and this is all the things you're supposed to do.
Fair enough. But because if you go through an operational level of like a profiling session, tell me about your life. Why do you do that? What's that thing about? And even if they even kind of know their type, even if they already knew they were an ENFJ, you kind of casually knew that, you confirm it through that and you just have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And you go through the methodology. Well, at the end of it, now you say, oh, and here's the exact same advice. Here's the 5 things that you would need to know as an ENFJ. Not only would they take the advice, they probably would be proactively asking you for it.
Yeah, they would want to know what they should do with the information.
Like, wait a minute, you explained my car model.
Yeah. Tell me what to do.
I knew I was an ENFJ, but I never knew that my 10-year-old was extroverted sensing or sensation.
Yeah.
And you said that often when it shows up here, it can hijack somebody and they can get maybe indulgent or, like a little bit too quick action. They don't slow down enough to think about something. And the way you explained it resonated with me. Tell me more. How can I maybe stop that behavior? Or how can I get a hold of that? Or how can I get out of that loop that I'm in? Right? They're willing to hear what you have to tell them, and you can actually help people. So this, I think, is why the operational level is so important, is it sets us up, just like my son, just like with tarot, and just like with personality profiling. You prime someone to have the real work happen, like the application. Okay, maybe this is it. Maybe the operation is the actual thing, and the application comes up. If you try to give somebody application without the operational thing before it, that application probably won't be implemented. And they probably won't even hear it, and they might even push back, and they might think you're an a-hole.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you say is that the operation, like if we operate type well, if we have an operational lens about a relationship to type, particularly when we're talking to other people, if there's some methodology, it increases the likelihood that application will be the result.
Yes.
And when you increase the likelihood that application will be the result, then you're honoring the system to begin with, because that was its original intent.
Carl Jung was in the middle of psychoanalyst sessions when this system was birthed. It was birthed out of operation. So that's where it should live.
Yeah.
The cognitive functions were invented in the middle of a psyche to psyche, basically a profiling session. It's an analyst session. It was like a session of getting to know somebody and helping arrive at something where he could offer them advice. That's the framework that he developed. Like that was the inspiration point for all of this, was his clinical work.
Right. Yeah.
And so it needs to live in operation. And for some reason, we've disembodied it from its operation. It's like we've removed, it's like the stupid little communions I used to do as a kid, like a little tiny piece of wafer bread with a stupid thing of grape juice. And I'm like, this is not bread and this is not wine. This is like some plastic Western American version of this BS that I'm doing symbolically. The other one was a symbol, but this is like a mass produced, like Industrial Revolution symbol of something that was very like religious and spiritual. It's like, it's really weird as a kid. I was like, this is bizarre. Even as a kid, I thought it was BS.
This little cup of grape Kool-Aid transubstantiate into Christ's blood inside of me.
Yeah. Well, that's Catholics. We're Protestants. So that doesn't happen. But yes,
that's right.
But if I was Catholic, I think it would magically turn into something else.
And
but,
if you were Catholic, it'd be real wine.
Yes, right?
It would be grape Kool-Aid.
It wouldn't be like grape. It was grape juice.
Oh,
to be fair, it had real grapes in it. It wasn't just Kool-Aid. I think those are Lutherans or something. I don't know. Maybe. No, I think they use real wines. I have no idea. I'm way down a rabbit hole here. The point is that type has become these wafers and stupid little grape juice plastic things. It doesn't even go, like, it doesn't have the guts or the operational level that Jung originally had.
And so we say balls to that. We say get into the operational piece, because it's far more likely. And even as the operator, I found myself applying type so much more as the operator. So yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you think? You've been listening along? You've been watching the episode or listening to us? What's coming up for you? Do you see it this way? Do you think there's power in the operational level of personality type? I know I'm going to get a bunch of comments, but don't you think there's also, what do you think? And it's yes. There's value in all of the other things too. I'm not suggesting there's no value in them. I'm just saying the center point here, if you really want to see value, is get to the operational level. So come over to personalityhacker.com, directly below this episode. You haven't had a microphone in this conversation, but we want to hear from you. Make your voice heard. Leave a comment, ask a question. More importantly, share your story. Have you tried to operate this in the way I'm talking about, and it was really good and you learned a lot? What is your experience with these ideas? We want to hear from you over at our website, personalityhacker.com. Come make your voice heard.
And if you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe to us on iTunes and various Android platforms. You can leave a rating review. Please leave a rating review for us on iTunes. Every single review makes me feel better. And the last one we got wasn't great. I probably shouldn't say that, but somebody's got to go say a nice review because the last one, every time I go up and
it
read
demoralizes
them,
you.
it's so
They did it on
demoralizing.
purpose.
They did.
There's like, I want Antonia Dodge to cry herself to sleep tonight.
That's right. Well,
I'm going to
they
make her
succeeded.
cry.
That's right. They were just like, stop talking about the car model every episode. And Joel's like, well, balls to that.
I didn't say balls to that.
No.
I say they clearly don't understand the business model.
They
and
don't
I
understand.
was dismissive of the calibration, but
Yeah.
it's okay. They don't. I mean, they don't have to. They're not us. They don't have to make this work for them.
But somebody should come say something nice so that I don't have to cry myself to sleep every night. You might be watching us on YouTube because we have a video podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you can like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future episodes. You can also leave a comment to let us know what you think about this idea. And of course, Profiler Training is our flagship program. It is a 6-month course that has like over 100 hours of digital content that you have access to for eternity, basically. And it culminates in a 5-day live event that is just, I think it's one of those things that's hard to market because you have to be there. It's so experiential and it creates amazing community. People have been studying type, learn so much just by being around other type enthusiasts, talking about type for 5 days straight. Excuse me, I've had a frog in my throat all night. 5 days straight, but also the embodiment exercises. It is difficult to explain how much you learn about type simply by embodying the cognitive functions and recognizing them not just in your brain, but also in your soma. And it is an amazingly good time. So head over to personalityhacker.com and check out our Profiler Training program. We might be in the middle of a launch at the time that you have heard this, or you can send us a message saying that you're interested in Profiler Training and see if the timing is right for you to sign up.
Yeah. So if you've resonated with what we've talked about, this idea of going from amateur, which doesn't mean bad at something, it just means you do it for the love of it. Mm-hmm. And you want to start to add on to that, not an or situation, but an and situation, and you want to become pro, I can't vouch for Profiler Training enough. I think it's a fantastic framework for that.
Yep.
So you can also head over to profilertraining.com and get more information. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And we'll talk with you on the next Personality Hacker podcast.